So I've made a lot of videos about Prebuilt PCs, PC builds and graphics cards, but I actually never made a lot of videos about CPUs, and that's why today I will talk about the best budget CPUs that you can buy right now in 2022. I'm going to go from the cheapest one all the way up to the most expensive one on the list, which is not going to be that expensive either, and is the one that I recommend you the most. But first we are going to start with the cheapest option. Now you have to make sure that you pair this CPU with a good GPU in order not to bottleneck. Don't worry, I have a whole video about graphics cards that you can go ahead and watch in the top right of the screen. If you don't want to see that video, don't worry either, because in this video I will explain which graphics cards I recommend you pairing these CPUs with. Without further ado, let's start with this one. So with the first one, and as I say, the cheapest one on the list, we have the i3 12100F. This one is $107, and I do believe that is the best one in terms of value, because you get a really great CPU for gaming that is actually really cheap, and the only thing that is going to be a little expensive is going to be the motherboard, because the motherboards for the 12th gen of Intel are actually expensive, but other than that you're getting a great CPU for the price that you're paying, especially at 1080p gaming, competitive games, or just any game that you want to play right now, even modern titles. Now you might be wondering what's the difference between the i3 12100F and the non-F version. Well, the non-F version has integrated graphics that will help you out with video editing and tasks of that type. Now you are spending more money, but if you're really into video editing and rendering a bunch of stuff, then it will make sense to spend more money on the i3 12100. But because this video is about gaming CPUs, the i3 12100F is going to make sense. If you're going to pair it with a graphics card, I recommend you pairing it with the GTX 1650 Super all the way up to the RTX 3050. So the 1650 Super, the 1660, 1660 Super, 1660 Ti, and then the RTX 3050 if we are talking about NVIDIA. And if you want an AMD graphics card, I will pair it with the 6500 XT all the way up to the 6600. Now I do not recommend you the 6500 XT in older systems because you get PCIe Gen 3, so it's going to hurt your performance a little bit. But since we are talking about the i3 12100, is going to support PCIe Gen 4, so the 6500 XT is going to be similar to the GTX 1650 Super of NVIDIA, and is going to be a cheap option. Then if you want to pair it with a higher graphics card, then I recommend you upgrading the CPU to either the Ryzen 5 5600 or the i5 12400F, which is going to be the best one on the list. But first, let's talk about the AMD Ryzen 5 5600, one of the newest releases of AMD. Now it makes zero sense to buy the 5600X because they perform actually the same, and the price for the 5600 is cheaper. This is a 6-core 12-thread CPU, and the advantage that you get over NVIDIA is that the motherboards are cheaper, but then the CPU it's around $190, which I think is kinda overpriced since you can get the i5 12400F, which is really similar but it's going to perform a little bit better, and the price is going to be cheaper for the CPU, but at the end you're compensating it with the price of the motherboard. So it really depends if you prefer AMD or Intel here. I do recommend you buying the i5 12400F instead, because even though the motherboard is more expensive, at the end the price is going to be the same as AMD, and you're getting the DDR5, and on top of that you're getting some better performance for gaming. Something that is not really noticeable in GPUs like the RTX 3060 is more noticeable in higher end GPUs, but still you get a higher performance if you want to upgrade it over time. So my recommendation is going with the i5 12400F. I think it's the best budget CPU right now in 2022. If you like Ryzen, then you're not going wrong with the Ryzen 5 5600, but again, I think the i5 12400F has some good advantages, like your motherboard supporting DDR5. For both the AMD Ryzen 5 5600 and the i5 12400F, I recommend you pairing it with at least the RTX 2060 all the way up to the 3060 Ti. You can of course pair it with a 3070 or a 3070 Ti. There's no problem with that, but if you're going to get higher end graphics cards, then I would recommend you spending a little bit more on a CPU like the i5 12600K instead. If you didn't understand which graphics card to pair these CPUs with, don't worry, in the description you will have these CPUs of course as well with the right GPU to pair it with, and you will have a bunch of Prebuilt PCs in case you don't want to build a PC by yourself, which is completely understandable. Some people don't want to build it by themselves and you have your reasons, so that is completely understandable. Down below in the description you will have plenty of options. And if you found this video helpful, leave a like and subscribe, but most importantly hit that bell button so you get notified when I upload this type of content, which I do from 3 to 5 times a week. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support always, and I will see you on the next one.